Ladies, why is it that after you have sex with a guy, you never hear from him again? This is very common, and women are very puzzled. Don't men like sex? I was available to him. We had really good sex. He really enjoyed it. And if all I want from him is sex, why isn't he coming back? Now, of course, some women do want more than sex, but sometimes they just want sex. Why isn't he coming back? This is something that puzzled me for a really long time. I'm going to read a comment to you from my video, What I Learned About Relationships, which I'll link in the bio. This comment is from someone called Sunny Time Dolls. Yeah, that sucks a lot that men mostly view women as interchangeable commodities and have a buffet mentality of wanting to sample as many vaginas as possible. The woman whom the vagina is attached to is mostly an afterthought. I always found it surprising that men ghost after getting sex, because I'd always been taught men are obsessed with sex, and therefore it would seem rational to stick around when finding a woman who is providing sex. But the reality is, men are obsessed with sexual variety, not sex itself. And after they have sex one time with a woman, they can check that box and will move on. A woman wants to have sex 100 times with one man, but a man wants to have sex once with 100 women. Oh man, this comment is so on point. This person sounds like a woman, obviously really understands men, and she is speaking from what I have discovered about dating men in relationships. Now, not all men are this way, but we have to consider that men and women are different sexually, and in our society, unfortunately, it's been politically incorrect to say that, men and women are different. We're supposed to be interchangeable. We can change from one into the other, right? That's what we were taught the last 8 years. But we are very different, and this is important to realize, and this is why women shouldn't just go around having sex with guys if they're more relationship oriented, because the chances are you will never hear from him again. This puzzled me for a really long time. I experienced this so many times. If you read my book, The Fuck List, link in my bio, in my Amazon bio, in my YouTube bio, you will see that I struggled to understand this myself, because I thought men like sex, and I was hooking up with these younger guys in their 20s, and I know a lot of younger men love older women, and I've talked to younger men who had like a fling with an older woman that lasted several years, but I never experienced a man who wanted to do that. Usually they would have sex once and move on, or they would be so bad in bed I didn't want to have sex with them again. And it puzzled me because I'm like, I have my own place. I'm pretty good at sex. I know you enjoyed yourself. You're welcome back. I'm super sweet. Why wouldn't you want to come back? And they didn't. They didn't. I don't know if my, emotional maturity scared them, because the men that do talk about having a hookup buddy, they usually need a woman who doesn't have too much emotional bandwidth. This is what I want to add to it. Because if they're just looking for fun, they need a woman who likes the rough sex, not a passionate, sensual woman like me, because now that's getting more into like emotional sex territory. When they just want the variety, they'll stay for a long time with a woman who is devoid of emotions and likes her sex very rough, with severe choking, slapping, hitting, and other kind of kinky things like that. That's what I think. to those women, they will go back over and over and over and over. Or some woman who has nothing going on, who's just going to be letting herself be used as at the last minute for 11 o'clock, can I come over? But not a self-respecting woman like me who would need some advance notice to host, because I would require to be treated with respect. That they don't want, because that requires planning, accountability, authenticity, and a little bit of their emotional investment, their planning, and that's stuff that they will save only for their relationships, not for someone they just want to hook up with. So the guys that have a regular hookup buddy, in my opinion, they find a woman who is okay with being hit up for last minute sex with no advanced planning, or a woman who wants it very rough. But I could be wrong. I want to know what you guys think. I really like what she said about this, because they're not interested in sex itself. They want the variety. Not all men want this. Like I said, men and women are different sexually in terms of what we look for and how much we even enjoy it. Because the guy's going to enjoy it no matter what. If the woman just lays there, he probably won't enjoy it. But if she's reasonably engaged and enjoying herself, he's going to have a good time. But for the woman, it might not be a good time, even if the guy's enjoying himself, because he always will. So if he's not good in bed, it can be very bad for the woman. But nonetheless, let's assume he's very good at sex. The men in general will want more sexual variety than women. And again, this doesn't apply to all people, but I think in general it's true. A woman would rather have sex 100 times with one man that she's into, and the man would rather have sex with 100 women. And most men, if given the opportunity to have sex outside of their relationship, if they would never be found out, I think that most men would do it. Most men would do it if they were never found out. Why shouldn't they? Because to a man, and this is the main difference, this is why we are different. Because to a man, sex is risk-free. He finds a woman, he gets off. Man doesn't need much to get off. He can stroke himself in a tree stump. He strokes himself in her mouth, her vagina, whatever, her hand. He gets off. He enjoys her. But the woman has a lot more requirements, like, is this guy even safe? Do I even want this guy near me to touch me? And am I going to enjoy myself? So we're going to be a lot more choosy, and men aren't that choosy. That's why they have no risk. Plus, we have the risk of getting pregnant. And the risk of getting pregnant do not minimize, because even though we know we have birth control, our animal bodies don't know. We are still from an evolutionary age where we could get pregnant and die in childbirth. Yesterday I was at the grocery store, like I said in my video last night, and there was this dad holding his little, like, 2-week-old baby. And the woman behind me, we were saying how cute the baby is. And the woman behind me said that her first childbirth, she was 35 hours in labor, and then she needed an emergency C-section. Now that is an intense amount of pain, and by that time you're so exhausted. And if this would have been 100 years ago, she would have died. So deep down, women know that whenever we have sex with a man, we could die in childbirth. And then we are incapacitated from taking care of ourselves because we have to tend to this baby and feed this baby who's dependent on us. It's like having a little puppy that's always jumping up on you. Your life must be devoted for the first year exclusively to feeding and nurturing this infant. So we have a lot at risk. We're supposed to be picky. But men are not designed to be picky. Despite social norms of monogamy and all of this, men are designed to just spread their seed, let's be honest. But I think as we evolved and became more emotionally mature, men also wanted to be involved in the raising of their offspring. They get fulfillment from being a father and a husband. And society really benefits from monogamy, because before monogamy, we only had tribal living situations. With the advent of monogamy, we were able to start civilizations. So monogamy is good for civilization, but that doesn't mean that it has relieved men of this desire to just spread their seed, because it's fun and it's risk-free. If you as a man can impregnate 100 women and spread your seed that way, why wouldn't you? And there's no risk. It's just fun. It's like me going out to eat. I'll try this restaurant and this restaurant and this restaurant. And that's why I don't think that women should be having sex with men unless they don't care if he ever calls again. Because chances are he won't. You know, that's why I talk about kind of vetting the guy first to see if he's really interested in you or just wants the vagina, because so many men just want the vagina. Now, this does change as the man gets older and his testosterone level reduces somewhat. Men start to become more, you know, a little more interested in the woman, in the relationship. They become disenchanted. By the late 20s, a normal guy is going to be disenchanted with the string of casual hookups, and he wants something more meaningful. But I don't think that means that they're never going to cheat if given the chance. I think many of them won't, because they never get the chance. They have no chance to cheat. They would have to go way out of their way. But I think most men, if they're on a business trip and an attractive woman approaches them for easy sex, I think that a lot of men would do it, unless, of course, they feel some kind of guilt. And I don't think that women are likely to do it. So that is a big difference between men and women. And it's just in their nature. That's why you have to test them. And that's why I say men should also test women. Don't buy things for a woman unless you know that she's really into you already, because women do the same thing to men. Women who are users, just like men who are players, have no qualms about accepting gifts from men without giving anything in return. And deep down, don't we all know when someone buys us something or brings us something or offers us something, that we should reciprocate with appreciation, an equal kind of appreciation? But there's so many women who are just users of men. They're players. They will let a man just buy them things. And it's usually a man that's a people pleaser. He is guilty of being used, just like women are guilty of being used. So we have to wake up a little bit, you know. If you don't want to be used, don't start with sex and don't start with money. I think that healthy men realize that women are more emotional, and they don't do hookups anymore. They won't do hookups anymore after a certain age. I think usually late 20s or 30. You know, they don't. I think that a man who's still going around hooking up after 30 is like a person who's still going out to the bars in their mid-20s. Like, you have to grow up. And if you still find that exciting, I think there's some lack of maturity there. Because in the end, I think that adult men and mature men, by mature I mean emotionally mature, they would rather have that one woman than to keep finding a new woman to satisfy some need for sexual variety. But the point of this video was to say that a man can do it, and if you give a guy the opportunity to just give him your easy vagina, a lot of men, these immature men or young men who haven't yet figured women out, they're going to take advantage of that. So I will be interested to hear your comments, and thank you for watching my video.